Thanks for coming tonight. Tonight we're going to be talking about fermentation, and to allay some of your fears or apprehension, fermentation does not necessarily mean making alcohol. That would be a totally different class that we're not teaching.
I came to the wrong class.
You did. And so the issue with fermentation, or fermented vegetables, or sometimes known as sauerkraut, is a tradition that's been had in every culture, that I think that really exists, and we can look through and we can see how these people preserve their foods. And initially, the drive to ferment the foods was to preserve the foods. But what we found in the process is the nutrition just shot way up. And so when you take a vegetable such as the humble cabbage, which is a good vegetable, but then you make it into sauerkraut through a fermentation process, which we're going to be talking about and demonstrating tonight. It increases the vitamin C. It increases all these great vitamins and minerals, and that unlocks doors so that the body can get the benefit from it nutritionally. Let me illustrate the power or the importance of the power and the importance of fermented vegetables with an analogy. Suppose that we're walking through the forest, and we come across a meadow, and the meadow is one of these beautiful, idyllic meadows, and there's wildflowers, and there's grasses, and there's a little stream flowing through the meadow, and Bambi's off to the side munching on the grass there, and it is healthy and fertile and in every way that it should be. We walk out into the meadow, we spread the grass, and we reach down and we pull out some soil, and it's just dark and black and rich and loamy and moist, and it's pristine. Now suppose we were to go into that meadow, we sprayed Roundup, and we killed all the vegetation, and then the rains came, and it began to wash the soil away. It began to erode, and there became cracks and fissures, and we depleted that soil. This is analogous to what can happen to our digestive tract. Imagine for a moment that our digestive tract is this beautiful mountain meadow, and the lining of the digestive tract would be similar to the soil, and the grasses and the wildflowers would be similar to what we would call the probiotics, or the good bacteria. And there should be 5 to 7 pounds of that good bacteria in our digestive tract. What happens if we wipe out that good bacteria? And the way we could do it is by taking something like an antibiotic, which would decimate the good bacteria. And what would happen if over time we were eating foods that began robbing the body of some of the minerals, some of what we call anti-nutrients? There's a whole series of nutrients that are naturally found in foods, and if not prepared or processed properly as they're intended to be, will rob the body of minerals. And so, like the meadow, our digestive tract can have problems. And instead of cracks and fissures like the meadow, we develop what we call a leaky gut syndrome. Holes get punched into the digestive tract, and so we absorb food particles in chunks or particles that are bigger than they ought to be. They go into the bloodstream. The blood doesn't recognize them as the healthy food that they may be, and they tag it as a threat or a danger. And we develop allergies and all kinds of different problems. Now, back to the meadow. If I want to heal and restore that meadow, and I decide that I'm going to go down and I'm going to buy a bunch of seeds, grass seeds and wildflower seeds and all that, I'm just going to throw them out into the meadow. Is that going to restore the meadow? It's not. It can help, but because you've lost so much of that soil, we need to replace that. And so what we do is we bring in compost, right? Lots and lots of compost to restore that fertile ground layer of soil, and then we can plant the seeds, and we can start to restore that meadow. Likewise with our digestive tract, what we need to do is we need to heal it. What if you just take a whole bunch of probiotics, things that are going to grow the grasses, so to speak, in our digestive tract. Again, if the foundational level of the gut or the digestive tract has got holes punched in it, it's been demineralized, we need to restore those minerals. And so what we do to help heal the gut, heal the digestive tract, heal the leaky gut syndrome, is we use something like bone broth. And so we make bone broth, and we're not going to talk a lot about bone broth in tonight's class, but we want to restore the minerals. We can make a potassium broth with vegetables, but we need to restore that soil foundational layer. And then we bring in the probiotics. And the probiotics are the things where the good bacteria are growing. And that's what we're going to discuss tonight, is fermenting vegetables. And so when we ferment a vegetable such as cabbage or carrots or beets, or you fill in the blank with whatever vegetable you like, it develops those good bacteria. And they grow and they prosper, and then we put them into our body. And the advantage of that is when we take into our body a multiplicity of different natural organisms, we create a more diverse field, if you will. If we decided to go in the meadow and we threw out seeds and all it was Kentucky bluegrass, that would not be a healthy meadow. It's like the farmers that are growing just one crop, what we call a mono crop. Again, the soil is going to be depleted. However, if we have a wide variety, they can become synergistic, and that's how we want our digestive tract to be. We want a lot of good things in. Now, let me tell you a quick story about my front yard. When we moved here, we had this weed called goat heads. And if you know what goat heads are, the Latin name is tribulus, and it's also called puncture vines. They're noxious, they're terrible, we hate them. And so I'm pulling these things up and pricking my fingers and hating it. The next year, they came back up again. And I finally realized that I'm never going to be able to pull enough weeds to completely get rid of these things. And so I had an idea. I thought, you know what, I'm going to plant something else. And so I decided I'm going to plant red clover. And so I planted all this red clover in my front yard, and guess what happens? The red clover sprouts and grows before the tribulus, before the goat heads do, and they choke them out. And that's what we need to do with our digestive tract. We need to put so much good things in there that the bad things can't go. Because what happens when you take an antibiotic, and we all know this, is you set up the stage for a candida or a yeast infection, right? And anyone who's been on a candida diet knows that yeah, as long as you're really, really strict with that diet and not eating any sugars or molds or funguses or anything that's on the no-no list, you'll do okay. But once you slip, even once, everything just explodes and you have the problem again. And so what we need to do with the digestive tract is like we do with the weeds. We need to crowd out the bad things. And the only way you're going to get rid of the candida problem is to create such an abundance of other things that it's not completely gone, because I'm sure that I've got some of these weeds in my garden still. But they're so few and far between, and that's what we need to do, because we all have candida in our system. It's just a matter of keeping them in check, and that's what we're after. And so what we're going to do tonight, we're going to start in the kitchen here, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you about yogurt and how we do the yogurt, and we're going to make some whey. Remember little Miss Muffet on her tuffet? She was eating her curds and whey, and so that's what we're going to show you, is some curds and whey. We're going to make Greek yogurt out of the yogurt that we made. Then we're going to make some sauerkraut. We'll make a couple different types of fermented vegetables. I'm going to show you some of the different crocks and some of the different tools that we use, and then we're going to go downstairs to our other kitchen there, and we're going to make some root beer, and if we've got time, we'll make some ginger ale as well. Any questions before we get started, Nina?
You can see it in my face. So whey and yogurt are milk products?
Mm-hmm. They are.
And we're good with that?
We are.
Okay.
Yes.
Just checking.
Here's the thing. When you take milk, straight from the cow, raw milk, and even let's assume that this is a cow that hasn't been given the antibiotics and the hormones and fed the grain with pesticides. In fact, it hasn't been fed grain, it's been munching on the grasses. And so you take healthy milk, but then you homogenize it, you mix it up so that the cream won't rise to the top, and you pasteurize it, which means that you kill everything in it, then that's not the same food that we want. However, if we introduce a live bacteria, such as the lactobacillus bacteria that we're using with yogurt, we're bringing in enzymes, and we're creating life again, if you will. And so what I found is that milk is not a healthy product unless it's raw, unless it's as God intended it to be, and then it's a healthy. I preached against drinking milk for 20 years, and then I discovered raw milk and very healthy, nutritious food in my experience.
So you make your yogurt out of raw milk?
Yes and no. We will make it out of raw milk. However, often what we'll do, since it's going to be pasteurized anyway, is we'll buy the pasteurized organic milk, like the Horizon, and I'm okay with that. If we can introduce a live culture to a dairy product, in essence, we're bringing it back to life, and we're making it healthy again. And what I find is that people who don't do well with dairy, quote, pasteurized dairy, often they'll do just fine with the kefir and the yogurt and things like that.
That's me. I do well with raw milk.
Yeah.
And I've been lactose intolerant like forever.
Yeah, and that's what I find. You know when you drink a glass of milk and you get all that mucusy in your mouth after you're done? With raw milk, we're not getting that, because the mucus that the body creates as a defense mechanism to basically say, hey, I need to put a layer between you and my sensitive mucosal membranes, and the mucus works good because that pasteurized milk is irritating. And so you look at many of the primitive cultures that have been using dairy and very, very healthy, very, very good. But it's got to have a live culture. If you kill it, it's not the same creature.
You mean Israel wasn't flowing with pasteurized milk and honey?
Not with soy milk or that either. It's interesting. You look, and the other thing that we talk about or we learn about is the use of fat in the diet. And fat has been a dirty word by the manufacturers, and everything has to be low fat or no fat, and there is so much good that's in the healthy fats, the good fats, and the good fats being the coconut oil and the olive oil and the butter and the animal fats, those things that are natural. Here's the issue when you're fermenting. We use fermenting rather than pickling as the term, because so much of pickling implies vinegar and other things that we don't use. The more salt you add to something, the slower it will ferment. The less salt you add, the quicker it will ferment. And so the point of using salt at all is it buys you time for the bacteria to get going and the fermentation process to get underway. And so you can use less salt, but the point with salt is we're always using a sea salt, because when you're using table salt, it's just the sodium chloride, maybe some iodide added, other flow agents and other chemicals that we don't want, that will alter the flavor of the end product, but it will also change the health of it. When we use a sea salt, a natural sea salt, either a Celtic salt or Himalayan or Redmond real salt, what we're doing is we're adding all the minerals that the body needs. The mineral content of sea salt is almost exactly the mineral content of our blood and our sweat and our tears, and so it's actually replacing the things that we need. So the key with fermenting is you need to use enough salt to get over the hump, so to speak, so the food won't spoil before the lactic acid and the other things that's produced in the fermentation process kicks into gear. One of the things that we make that is very, very nutritious, and our kids absolutely love it, is beet kvass. And very, very simple. All I've done here, I've got a 2-quart jar. We use filtered water. We always want to use filtered water because we don't want the chlorine. The chlorine is designed to kill pathogens in our pipes and in our water system. If we introduce chlorinated water to something we're trying to grow, it's going to kill that too. So we use the purified water. I chopped some beets up into 1/2-inch cubes. Throw it in there with a tablespoon of sea salt, and we just let this ferment. And
Do you add the whey to it?
I don't.
Oh, you just do the salt.
I just do the salt.
1/2-inch cubes,
Salt.
salt.
And this was March 1st, and what's today? It's March 5th. So this has been going, and this is ready to taste. Now, if you look at this real closely, you can see little bubbles coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
And so I just loosened the lid, and so it's nice and fermented. And my 7-year-old, we can't keep out of this. She loves it.
You know, I made mine with whey, and I have to say my kids hate it. Is it because of the whey?
Well, I don't know.
Huh.
Taste
like
this
it.
compared to
Okay, I will.
what you've got. Yeah.
You're drinking the water or the...
You're drinking the juice, and so
So
yeah,
it's
that's
full of probiotics.
How many beets are in there?
one.
One beet.
Yeah, one beet. And so I'm going to pour it in here.
Christensen, how much salt did you put in there?
Pardon?
How much salt did you put in there?
Tablespoon.
So these recipes are in this book? that you
Yes.
have? Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to hold that for me?
So if I use pan salt, that would be okay?
Yeah.
Pan salt.
How much salt did you have?
Who did?
Tablespoon.
That's
High blood
Pennsylvania.
pressure. That's what I found it. I was looking for a cure for high blood pressure.
So the question people will ask is, what do you do with these? Can you use them? You can use them. They generally go to the chickens though.
High blood pressure.
My chickens probably have the best digestive tracts of just about anybody. And so,
So what's white? What is this?
oh, you know what I did? I threw in some,
Ginger?
no, yeah, some ginger and some beet and probably some parsnip
Carrot? Oh, okay.
and carrots from a previous batch of sauerkraut. I thought, I'm just going to get it going a little bit more, so let me just taste it first. See, now this is actually a little salty. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to tone it down just a bit
With some more filtered water?
with some filtered water. And actually, when I make this, I added a tablespoon and a half of salt always. And so it's still a little bit salty. So the nice thing about what we're doing here is there's a lot of latitude to do things. I mean, you're always playing around with the balance of things.
How long can you let that just sit there?
Month.
Not refrigerated.
Just sit there?
Yeah. Once we start using it, that's better. Once we start using it, then we put it in the fridge, and the refrigeration slows down the fermentation process, and so it doesn't stop it. And so when we make the soda pop, we put it in the fridge when it's carbonated enough, and it keeps carbonating, but it usually doesn't last too long.
So, when my problem is knowing when I can actually put it on a shelf and not have it explode on me.
Right. The soda pop we don't.
Okay.
Put it on the shelf?
No. It's got to stay in the refrigerator.
It's a funny question. What is well water? Is that not good?
No, it depends on your well. It's well water is water that's just been that's straight out of the ground. It hasn't gone through a treatment process. And so with well water, they're going to be testing it, every so often to make sure that it's pure and it's got what it needs. It reminds me of lighting the candles on the birthday cake. I had a girl that worked for me from Siberia, and when I brought some kvass in, she was so excited. She didn't want it though. She says, "My mom made that all the time. I hated it." and regular kvass is typically made out of bread, not beets.
Bread?
Yeah. And it's real yeasty tasting. But the point is this is a nice source of probiotics. So what I've got here is some of the foods that we've been fermenting. This is some jalapeno and some garlic, and this is actually black radish, apples, coriander, salt, and water. And this is actually very good. Black radishes are so healthy. Asparagus was on sale the other day, and so I got some asparagus and just did the asparagus spears in here with parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme.
So you just put the thing, the whatever vegetable, then water, then salt every time?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
parsley, sage,
And that
rosemary.
ferments.
Parsley.
Yes.
So of course I call this Scarborough Fair
Yes.
asparagus. And delicious. Just some garlic that we made. This is our Scarborough red sauerkraut. Ingredients: red cabbage, red onion, ginger, parsnip, carrots, turnips, red cabbage, sea salt, water, with, of course, parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. And always love and gratitude.
So are these air pop-offs?
These are, I'll explain these in a minute. Cultured beets, carrots. The main herb in here is cumin. And
So you
so-
can play with herbs.
always, yeah. Pickles from our garden. You notice the big leafy thing in there, which is
Grapevine leaf?
no,
No?
Poison ivy?
yeah, poison ivy. It's horseradish leaf.
Oh my.
And so again, like grape leaves, it'll keep them crisp, because we want our pickles crisp, not mushy. And so I think what I want to do is I'm gonna cut up some of the vegetables. We're gonna make some sauerkraut here, and I'm gonna show you a couple of the different types of crocks that we use and how it's made.
When you put it together with all the salt and the water, is it going to taste like that kvass?
No.
So you put carrots in your sauerkraut?
Yeah, it adds some color. Sometimes if you want something really, really mild, you could just have it fermenting for 4 or 5 days. And so typically, the more you eat, the stronger you like it. And so,
So as you're adjusting, it's not bad to do it.
yeah, the only danger is the more you dip into it, the more likely you are to contaminate it. I'm going to add some sea salt, and so I'm gonna add a tablespoon of the Celtic salt here. Thanks.
So you do put different things in your sauerkraut.
Oh yeah. Yeah, acceptable as well. But as I said earlier, we want the salt.
Now is that preserving it until the
Until
organisms can get all through it?
organisms and everything kick in.
But the way the bacteria stuff's not killed by the salt
No,
at all.
no.
So you just dissolve your salt first
I do,
in the water.
yeah.
So you already put a little bit of salt.
Yeah, there's already some salt in here as well.
So the purpose of the whey was the live bacteria
Yeah.
that will make it.
Yeah, and there's also
Don't do
live
it.
bacteria on the cabbage and and everything else that's
Can we
in there.
do the sauerkraut without the whey?
You can do it without the whey. Yeah, and to be honest with you, most times I do.
Did you say you just use the juice from the other sauerkraut instead of
You
lettuce?
can, yeah. Or you could even take a probiotic capsule and open that up and break that up in it.
The easiest by the hill stuff?
Mm-hmm. And so, all you do is fasten the lid. I've got to put some water in my airlock.
I really like not having to smash it forever. That
Yeah, I smash
You know
mine
what?
forever
Not
too.
worth
We
it.
would beat it to death, and then you have this weak, limp, sauerkraut.
Yeah,
And we like it to be
that looks
fresh and
wonderful.
crunchy.
Yeah.
So you're gonna let that sit for 3 weeks,
Mhm.
or so, or whatever.
And so, when you do this, I always recommend put a label on things. Thank you. And so what I've got here is the date, which is the 5th of March, and I've got green cabbage, fennel root. What else do we have in it? Carrots,
Celery.
celery, caraway seed,
Did you already say fennel?
Mm-hmm.
sea salt, and water,
And whey.
and whey.
Yeah, but it's not charged.
And Mark, is anything else?